The operating room was chaos. Blood was spraying. Machines were screaming. Doctors were shouting orders. Clamp, no, the other one. Faster. And in the corner stood a young nurse. Quiet, small frame, hair tied in a simple bun. Nobody paid attention to her. She was just another assistant. But then she moved. Her hands darted forward, faster than the senior residents. She caught a vessel before it tore completely. The bleeding stopped. The chief surgeon froze. His eyes widened. Your reflexes, they aren't normal. Who taught you that? The room went silent. Everyone stared. Nobody knew her past. Meet Lena Kovacs, 27 years old, Hungarian-Austrian descent. She had just started her internship at St. Haven Medical Center, one of the most prestigious hospitals on the East Coast. To everyone else, she looked ordinary. A kind face, a small build, always quiet. The residents ordered her around. Fetch the gauze. Don't stand too close to the table. This isn't your battlefield. Leave it to the surgeons. She never argued. She never complained. She just listened, watched, learned. But Lena noticed every detail, every flicker on the monitor, every shift in a patient's breathing, every careless movement a doctor made. One day, during a long surgery, a resident accidentally touched an unsterilized area. He didn't realize it, but Lena did. Quietly, she placed a clean instrument in his hand. Just seconds before the chief surgeon was about to reprimand him, nobody thanked her, nobody noticed. One doctor even scoffed. Lucky reflex, not skill. That evening, Lena walked home alone. Her old canvas bag slung over her shoulder. Inside the bag was a worn, brown leather notebook. But this wasn't an ordinary notebook. Inside were dozens of hand-drawn diagrams, detailed sketches of human anatomy, precise notes in the margins, not like a medical student's notes, different, sharper, urgent. The handwriting spoke of pressure, of someone racing against time. Timing matters, one note read. 1 second is the border. Every drawing was marked with angles, measurements, coordinates, not academic, almost military. Every night in her small apartment, Lena studied that notebook. Her fingers traced the arteries, memorizing pathways. Her eyes repeated the diagrams until they lived inside her mind. She was training her body, like a soldier preparing for war. But the other nurses didn't know this. To them, Lena was just the quiet one. Polite, ordinary, forgettable. During coffee breaks, conversations floated around her. Did you see that new resident? Top of his class from Johns Hopkins? Lena's nice, but nothing special. She would just smile politely, say nothing, keep reading. But sometimes, when no one was watching, her fingers flexed, unconsciously, not like holding a scalpel, like gripping something heavier, movements precise, controlled, like muscle memory from another life. Then one afternoon, a code blue alarm sounded. Cardiac arrest in the ER. The hallway exploded with urgency. Nurses ran, doctors rushed. Alarms blared. Lena was restocking supplies. For just 1 second, her entire posture changed. Alert, rigid, focused, like a soldier hearing gunfire. Then, she caught herself, relaxed again, went back to her quiet, ordinary movements. But Dr. Martinez noticed. He had been watching her for weeks. That reaction, it wasn't normal for a nurse. In Lena's pocket was a dented silver coin, worn smooth from years of use. The last thing she carried from a battlefield she never spoke of. Whenever alarms rang too loud, too much like artillery fire, she touched that coin. It grounded her. It reminded her of what she had survived. The hospital saw Lena as a new intern. But every now and then, a glimpse of something else slipped through. A scar running down her forearm. Thick calluses between her fingers, not from medical tools, but from weapons and field bandages. and reflexes no ordinary nurse could have. The question no one dared ask yet. Who was Lena? Really? And what was she hiding behind that quiet face? Nobody, just observation. But as she walked to the sink to wash her hands, another doctor noticed something. Dr. Martinez. His sharp eyes locked onto her palms, thick calluses between the fingers, not the kind nurses get from holding scalpels, and a scar, running long from wrist to elbow, clean, surgical, like shrapnel or a blade. Whispers began instantly. She's not trained here. Those reflexes, that's not normal. She moved like a combat medic. Dr. Peterson, an older surgeon and a veteran, pulled Hayes aside. Chief, I've seen those hands before. They don't belong to a regular nurse. They belong to someone who's patched people up under enemy fire. That night, Hayes couldn't sleep. He pulled up the security footage from the trauma bay. He watched, frame by frame, the way Lena approached the officer, the exact angle of her grip, the speed of her motion. This isn't textbook medicine, he muttered. This is battlefield training. And the mystery deepened. Who was she really? Where did she learn this? The hospital record said she was 27, born in Budapest, moved to the U.S. at 15, a nursing degree from a small college in Ohio, but between age 21 and 24, 3 missing years. No school, no work history, no records. Nothing. Meanwhile, inside the hospital, Lena kept working like nothing happened. Quiet, efficient. But the staff had started watching her differently. During a routine appendectomy, the surgeon reached for suction. It was already in Lena's hand before he asked. He needed a scalpel. She passed it a second early. How did she know? A resident whispered. Another day, a recovering patient went into shock. Before the monitors even registered the problem, Lena called the code. Her instincts had seen it first. The patient lived. The whispers grew louder. She isn't ordinary. She knows things she shouldn't. What is she hiding? Late one night, janitor Miguel found her in the supply room. She wasn't resting. She wasn't studying. Textbooks. She was practicing sutures on a piece of cloth, but the way she stitched, fast, aggressive, like someone racing against gunfire. Miss Lena, you okay? Miguel asked gently. She startled, quickly hiding the fabric. Yes, just practicing. Miguel noticed her hands trembling, not from nerves, but from memory, from muscle trained in war. He had seen this before. My cousin came back from Vietnam like that, he said softly. Hands that knew things they wished they didn't. Lena froze, her eyes sharp, guarded, but Miguel only nodded. Sometimes the hardest battles are the ones nobody sees. For what it's worth, Miss Lena, whatever you've been through, you're using it to save lives now. And that counts. He walked out quietly, leaving her alone. Lena sat in the empty supply room, the suture cloth in her lap, the silver coin in her pocket pressing against her palm. Her secret weighed heavy. No matter how much she tried to hide, the past was bleeding into the present. And in that hospital, people had started to notice. The hospital whispered her name now. Not out of kindness, not out of praise, out of suspicion. Did you see her clamp that artery? That wasn't luck. She knew before the monitors. How? Where did she learn that? Lena pretended not to notice. She kept her head down. She moved quietly between patients, but she felt their eyes on her. Everywhere. During surgeries, residents watched her hands more than their own. How she always seemed to pass the right tool before anyone asked. How her posture shifted when alarms sounded. How her eyes scanned the room like she was expecting an ambush. Dr. Sarah Chen, the psychiatrist, noticed too. She saw the way Lena's shoulders tightened when the trauma doors burst open. How Lena always kept an exit in view. How her face hardened at sudden noises. These are PTSD markers, Chen whispered in her notes. But not weakness, adaptation. She has turned trauma into instinct. Meanwhile, Dr. Hayes couldn't let it go. The image of her stopping that bleed haunted him. Not just skill, not just talent. It was something else. He started digging into her past. The file was thin. Too thin. Born in Budapest, moved to America at 15, graduated nursing school. Internship at St. Haven, and then 3 years missing. From age 21 to 24, she disappeared. No school, no job, no records, just silence. Hayes leaned back in his chair, frowning. Nobody vanishes for 3 years, unless someone wants them to. At the hospital, the signs kept coming. During a routine operation, a resident slipped. Before the mistake even registered, Lena's hand steadied the tool. Not a second late, a second early. In recovery, she called a patient's collapse before the machine even beeped. The man lived. Doctors stared at her like she was something, not human. Late one evening, Hayes walked past the supply room. He paused. The sound of thread pulling. He peeked inside. Lena was stitching a piece of fabric. Fast, precise, not like a student practicing. Like someone racing against death. Like someone who had done this in the dark, under fire. Her hands trembled when she stopped. Not from nerves, from memory. Hayes didn't step in. He just walked away, whispering to himself. This isn't hospital training. This is war. That night he searched deeper, through medical journals, military archives, anything he could access. And then, a whisper, a name. Kraken Unit, an elite combat medical team, deployed where no backup existed. Men and women who could perform surgery in the middle of a firefight. Patch wounds while bombs dropped around them. Reflexes trained to the edge of human ability, officially disbanded in 2019. Records sealed. Members reassigned, with new identities. Hayes's pulse quickened. Could it be? Could Lena Kovacs be one of them? He called an old friend at the Pentagon. A man who owed him favors. Kraken Unit, Hayes whispered. Tell me what you know. The voice on the other end went cold. Why are you asking? About that, Hayes? Those records are sealed. The unit doesn't exist. And if you found someone, keep quiet, for your own sake. But Hayes pressed on. Tell me about their training. The man sighed. They could stitch arteries under fire, stop a bleed with their bare hands. Their reflexes weren't normal. They were sharpened by war. They saved lives where no one else could. But they also carry ghosts. Heavy ones. Hayes closed his eyes. He knew now. The truth was right in front of him. Friday morning, he asked Lena into his office, closed the door, laid a stack of photos on the desk. Military medical kits, field bandages, scars that matched hers. His voice was steady. I know who you are. Lena's face stayed calm, but her breathing shifted, alert, controlled, like a soldier waiting for orders. I'm a nurse, Dr. Hayes, she said softly. He shook his head. No, you're Sergeant Lena Kovacs, Kraken Unit, aren't you? Silence filled the room. Lena stared at him for a long moment. Then, she nodded. How did you know? Hayes leaned forward. Your hands, your reflexes, the way you move under pressure. No one in civilian medicine moves like that. And for the first time since she arrived at St. Haven, Lena lowered her guard. Dr. Hayes's office was silent, the air heavy. The hum of the fluorescent light sounded louder than usual. Lena sat across from him, her eyes calm, but her shoulders stiff. She had spent years hiding, and now her mask had slipped. Hayes leaned forward. Why here? Why St. Haven? You could have gone anywhere. Why hide? For the first time, Lena spoke more than a sentence. Her voice was low, measured. I didn't come here to hide, Doctor. I came here to start over. Hayes frowned. Start over? After Kraken? Her eyes flickered. Memories she couldn't suppress. Gunfire in the distance. Dust filling her lungs. A soldier screaming while she clamped his artery with her bare hands. Her team shouting for cover, explosions shaking the ground. We weren't nurses, she whispered. We weren't doctors. We were ghosts. Sent where no one else would go. Villages in the desert, jungles in the dark, cities under fire. We saved who we could. We buried who we couldn't. Hayes stayed quiet. He let her speak. My reflexes aren't talent. They're survival. If I hesitated, someone died. If I blinked, someone bled out. That's what Kraken was. That's what it made me. Her hand slipped into her pocket. She pulled out the silver coin. Dented, worn smooth. She placed it on his desk. Every mission, we carried one. A token. A reminder. Mine survived the blasts when my friends didn't. Her eyes glistened, but no tears fell. I shouldn't even be alive. They all didn't make it back. I did. And when the unit disbanded, I swore I'd live quietly. No more war, no more blood, just healing. Hayes's voice softened. You're not just healing patients, Lena. You're healing yourself. She looked away. Maybe. But people notice. They see my scars, my reflexes. They'll keep asking questions, and one day the wrong person will know. Hayes exhaled deeply. I can't promise people won't whisper, but I can promise you this. Here, you're not Kraken. You're not a ghost. You're Lena, a nurse. And these walls, he gestured toward the hospital. These walls need you more than any battlefield did. For the first time in years, her lips curved into a faint smile, not forced, not practiced, real. That same week, another emergency struck. A child, collapsed on the ward. No pulse. The code team rushed in, hesitant, scrambling, and once again, Lena's reflexes moved faster than thought. Compress, ventilate, clamp, inject. Her body was a storm of precision. The boy lived, and this time, the room didn't whisper in suspicion. This time, they stared in awe. Dr. Chen murmured, She's not hiding anymore. She's saving us all. Word spread across St. Haven. Not the full truth. Not the name Kraken. But enough. The residents no longer mocked her. They listened. They learned from her. Even Rodriguez, the arrogant resident who once called her lucky, walked up quietly after a shift. He didn't meet her eyes. He just said, Thank you for what you did in the ER, and walked away. For Lena, it was enough. Respect not from rank, not from fear, but from the lives she saved. Weeks later, Hayes called her into the OR as lead nurse. The surgery was complex, risky, but with Lena guiding, it went flawlessly. When it was over, Hayes didn't ask her about her past again. He just said, Ghost or not, you belong here. Lena picked up her silver coin that night, turned it in her fingers, and whispered to herself, For them, for everyone I couldn't save, I'll keep going. Because the battlefield was gone, but the mission never ended.